this show is brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of the NFL. And they have something new going on this time, Deke, because we know it's the big game this weekend. Y'all know we can't say the big game. We got to go to the big game. You know the game I'm talking about this weekend, the big one with the team from LA and the team from Cincinnati. You know them two teams we talking about, right? Well, ladies and gentlemen, what DraftKings Sportsbook is doing for all of the first-time users out there, baby. If you use the promo code MOATS, like it always is, on this bet this week for the big game, 56-1 odds, okay? So you got the team from LA, you got the team from Cincinnati. Put your money down on one of them, okay? 56-1 odds. So essentially, a $5 bet will win you up to $280 in free bets. Now, this is the kicker with this, right? So to break it down for you, you put your $5 in on the LA team, right? You're like, I like the LA team. They got a kid, from Pennsylvania that I happen to like a lot. All right, we win the bet. Boom, we get that 280. From there, you take that 280 and now you can use that to bet on anything and everything you want right on DraftKings Sportsbook. So
great deal.
Stop wasting time, bro. It is a great.
Can I say this about DraftKings?
Talk about
it,
bro. Absolutely.
I really don't like betting hockey, but and one of the reasons is a lot of these betting apps don't have nice same game parlays that you can use. They won't allow it. I go to DraftKings. They have some really nice ones, and I really appreciate what they're doing with the hockey betting.
Let's get it, man. Let's get it. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to put money on the big game, get your 56-1 odds. Or if you want to put money on the ice, baby, either way, use that promo code MOATS. But, Deke, we also know that at times, some people have a little bit of a problem.
Yeah.
We know at times, Deke, some people can overdo it.
With the big game coming up, I could see that happening. So many props.
It is the big
So many
game.
parlays you could be doing.
It is the big game. So with that being said, with the big game, I got to do it like this, okay? Because if you know someone, or if you happen to have a gambling problem, crisis counseling, or you might need referral services, well, Deke, I got to tell you, you got two things you got to do. First off, you need to dial 877-8-HOPE-NY, okay? For my New Yorkers out there, 877-8-HOPE-NY. But for everybody else that's not living in New York, y'all know what y'all need to call. Y'all need to call 1-800-GAMBLER. I say, you need to call 1-800-GAMBLER. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Teryl Austin, he is the one. Let's see, I think it was Jerry Dulac and Jeremy Fowler that initially reported. Then after that, Ian Rappaport and company took off with it as well. But the promotion of Teryl Austin, a couple of things we'll talk about. Number one, in the chat, just let me know your thoughts on Teryl Austin being promoted. Do you like the fact that he was the guy that they ended up settling on, or do you think or wish that they would have went elsewhere? Just let us know. Like I said, we'll read some of your comments off as well. But for me, I won't say I'm surprised by it, just simply because once Keith Butler had made the comments in terms of knowing how much of a hand Coach Tomlin likes to have currently in the defense, we both kind of felt that in a sense that it was going to be hard to lure a Vic Fangio, a Wink Martindale, even a Brian Flores, because those guys have made a reputation calling defenses, and it's hard to relinquish that ability when you have been that guy. That's one of the biggest things with Coach Tomlin as we speak that put us in this position where it's like, man, he has such an ability or a natural ability to call defenses that, he wants to continue doing that. So we felt that it would limit, or at least I felt that it would limit the quality of candidate. We weren't going to be able to get one of those guys. So we'd have to look at the next tier. And this is where your Teryl Austins, your Patrick Grahams, guys along that level where it's like either some coordinator experience or new to the game in terms of trying to transition to the coordinator spot. Not a lot to not like except the inexperience element of it. But I personally felt that with Teryl, obviously he does have experience. He was in Detroit for a couple of years. He was in Cincinnati. And granted, some places were mixed bags, but we also know that some of those...
Cincy was a dumpster fire.
Yeah, Cincy was definitely bad. But with the Cincy situation, we also know that they were in a organizational transition as well. And we're seeing now, 3 years removed, now these dudes are in the Super Bowl. It's crazy. But with that being said, I do like the fact that with Teryl, he does have experience. He has coached or coordinated a top 10 defense before early in Detroit. He did do that. So
top 5 by some metrics.
Absolutely. Yeah. So for me, I do feel like personnel-wise, we have a lot of talent defensively. Now, we know we have some pieces that we need to address, and we'll talk about some of those players in the Senior Bowl, and obviously as we continue talking about free agency and the draft throughout this offseason. But to me, I just think that finding the best of both worlds in the sense of Teryl isn't homegrown. You know, he was outside hire when we brought him in 3 years ago. So he's had a chance to come in. He's had a chance to get his foot in the door. He's had a chance to build that relationship, that rapport with Coach Tomlin. So I do like that. I do like the fact that he is very experienced in terms of being a defensive coordinator. But at the same time, I think that it's the best case scenario where you're going to be able to have that working relationship, that dynamic where Coach T is still able to make the calls on game day without having to do all of the heavy lifting Monday through Saturday that Teryl Austin is going to be responsible for in terms of preparation, in terms of personnel decisions, in terms of packages, strengths and weaknesses of the defense. That's going to be on Teryl Monday through Saturday. It's going to be on Coach T, though, in terms of delivering it in the best way come Sundays and game days and stuff like that. But as a whole, I just felt like this was the best scenario with what we currently have right now.
That's what I'm thinking too. Who else are you looking for right now?
Yeah.
Because whenever you compare Teryl Austin to Patrick Graham, to Chris Richard, to Joe Witt Jr., I mean, his resume is probably the best out of all three, actually.
Realistically, yeah.
Because the Lions season in 2014, as I mentioned, top 3 defense in terms of points scored and points allowed, or points scored and yards allowed.
Correct.
And then they actually had 2 decent seasons to follow that up for Detroit. They went 7-9, 9-7. Looking back, but that's actually not terrible.
Yeah, and you also have to remember, too, this is the Detroit team that wasn't far removed from when they had some of the worst records in the NFL.
Yeah.
That's all in that time frame because that's when they were switching coaches, going to Caldwell. I think, because I'm trying to think, Austin left right when Patricia got there, if I remember correctly. That would have been when he went to Cincinnati. Yeah.
So who else are we going to get? I mean, Patrick Graham signed with the Raiders for their defensive
DC
coordinator. Teryl Austin's been in-house. It seems like all the players like him. And it's probably best for that working relationship, as you mentioned, with Coach Tomlin.
Yeah.
Because maybe that's why Graham didn't stick around or show a little bit more interest here, because down in Oakland or Las Vegas, he's probably going to be calling all the shots with McDaniels being the head coach. Now he's all offense.
No, absolutely. There's a strong chance. And I did find the time. I'm glad you said that. The timing of it did kind of... I'm not going to say that it was any indication or anything, but it just was a little funny to me in the sense of we were interviewing all these candidates, right? So even past the whole Rooney Rule requirements and things like that, it was like, they were legit going through a search. But you notice, all right, we brought in Patrick Graham. We did our conversation with him. He gets the job to go to L.A. To Vegas. Now, Teryl Austin, Teryl Austin becomes the next candidate on the Giants list to interview. He's the guy that's supposed to be flying in there. It was supposed to be this week.
Didn't
he would go down there
somewhere else.
Yeah,
too?
He interviewed. I forgot where he interviewed beforehand, but he was supposed to go to New York once Patrick Graham took that job, and he never got that chance because the Steelers went ahead over the weekend and was like, "Nope, he's gonna be our guy. Don't worry about it now." So, like I said, it's not an indictment. I don't look at it as a bad way either or. But I did find it funny because it kind of came off to me that Patrick Graham probably was the guy that they really wanted, and when he took the Vegas job, it was like, okay, we can't lose Teryl to New York because that's where he was going to interview next.
Yeah. If anything, I view it as a good thing because the Steelers did their due diligence. They brought some few guys and from the outside, and they all had pretty decent resumes outside of the top guys that we talked about, and Flores, Vic Fangio, even pulling Rex Ryan in from out of the media.
Yeah.
Like, we probably weren't ever going to get that guy to begin with. I mean, it was a long shot. It was a pipe dream. So Teryl Austin, already in-house, likes what he sees here, I guess. We gave him a good offer. Wanted to stay. I don't see anything wrong with it at all. I know people could bring up the whole hire from within thing that the Steelers always do and critique that, but I felt like this one's a little bit different at least.
Yeah, I do. I agree with you.
This wasn't just Matt Canada, QB coach last year. Who else did we even interview with?
And not even just QB coach. It was QB coach without NFL credentials. And that was the other part. So it's like with Teryl Austin, man, Teryl has had success. He's been a coordinator at different locations. He was still in running to get another opportunity to be a coordinator elsewhere. So when we talk about the class of candidate, typically the biggest reason why we critique and criticize the Steelers in terms of promoting from within is because most of the time their promotions from within aren't qualified guys. Like how you just brought up about Matt Canada.
You could even say the same thing about Butler. At least he's been in the NFL, though. Correct. He never had defensive coordinator experience. It was his time, though. You talk about like, No, it's just we got to give him a chance.
But we also remember how long he was in the organization. When we talk about Canada, that wasn't the case. And that's the part that makes it, I feel like, a different situation for Teryl Austin, because he's coming in already qualified. For him, it was a step down going from coordinator to be a position coach. Then he had to work his way back up. So for me, I do feel a lot better that, in terms of this hiring cycle, even though it's a promotion from within, is not in the same context, because we don't have an issue of promoting from within when the candidate is qualified. Trust me, nobody is going to complain if you're promoting a guy that we all feel is head coach material or coordinator material. The issue is when you're promoting from within and these guys aren't qualified. It's I just know this guy and he just played here, or he's been a part of the organization, so we just
coached at Maryland.
We're just going to he coached at Maryland, or he's from Memphis. They either Maryland or Memphis connection. That's all you need, all right? Or did your dad or brother or cousin play in the NFL or NBA or WNBA? It doesn't matter which professional sport, as long as they have some type of tie. We know that traditionally that was the case, and that was why not just people, like, I would get upset about it as well, but this is different here because Teryl, like you said, when you look at the other candidates that they were interviewing, it was, like I said, multiple guys in-house and outside of the Steelers organization. He was the most qualified guy of this batch. So yeah.
Then it all depended on probably the working relationship, because if the Steelers actually did like Patrick Graham, I could see why he wanted to go to the Raiders, just because he'll be calling all the shots. If he came here, we already talked about this. It'll be Tomlin's thing. Well,
and honestly, man, when you think about a guy like Patrick Graham, his name doesn't ring the same bell as a Wink Martindale. His name doesn't ring the same bell as Rex Ryan. His name doesn't ring the same bell as Vic Fangio. And the difference is those guys I just named have proven as a defensive coordinator that they can get the job done. Patrick is trying to get to that level, and coming here, and this being that opportunity, you're always going to be capped. What we talked about with the Keith Butler situation. And this was even before we even knew the full extent with Coach Tomlin being the game day caller. It was like, man, you're always going to be capped in terms of how good you're viewed. Because even though you might have a top 5 defense, we're going to say it's top 5, but it's Coach Tomlin's top 5 defense. That's not your top 5 defense.
Yeah.
And if you were to leave, that would always linger over you. Yeah, you had good defense, but it was because Coach Tomlin. So if you're Patrick Graham, it made sense. And I could definitely get that.
And this is a big upgrade for Teryl Austin.
It definitely
from where he
is,
was,
man.
going from DC now to secondary coach for us. This is a big step for him. So who knows what's in store, where this could take him. Does it land him a better DC opportunity down the line where he could try to become head coach? I don't know, but obviously this was a good move for him, a good opportunity.
And I even thought to an extent, because I think Teryl is 50. So even in that extent, I was like, granted, it probably won't work out here like this, but I was like, man, who's to know within the next couple of years? Like, what if Coach Tomlin changed his mind? He wanted to go elsewhere, wanted to retire, whatever. Maybe you already have his predecessor in-house as well, because that's another complaint that we've always had when we talk about the assistants in Pittsburgh.
Doesn't have a coaching tree.
Yeah, it's like, man, we don't have a ton of head coaches coming up under him. We don't have a ton of coordinators up under him. So this technically will be that first vein, because when you think about it realistically, Keith Butler and Dick LeBeau, those necessarily weren't Coach Tomlin hires. You know what I mean? Like, they were already a part of this thing. Whereas Teryl Austin, that realistically is a part of his hire. So we're going to get a chance to see, like, hey, man.
Yeah, this is Tomlin's first go around it. Kind of everything being
correct.
His. Haley, was it his call? Maybe a little bit, but that was outside.
Right, that was still outside, yeah.
That was more, I think, coming from ownership, because at that point they were like, we want to protect Ben, bring us an offensive coordinator to do that. And then after him, it was Finkner. Canada's his guy, it seems.
Yes.
So we got Canada on offense and Teryl Austin after doing some of these interviews. Even though maybe you wanted Patrick Graham more, who knows? This is all speculation, but this was your decision. So these are his guys. Because everyone else, I mean, Arians, even before Todd Haley coming in, they were under the cower of the old regime.
Correct.
So now Tomlin gets his chance, man. A lot of this is going to be a big indictment on how Tomlin operates things.
No, absolutely.
Quarterback situation, offense, defense. How are we going to look now? No franchise quarterback.
But at the same time, man, I do feel good about our leadership, though. If that makes sense, it's like we got a lot of questions, but I actually feel good.
No, because it is Tomlin.
It's weird, bro.
Proven to be a winner as a head coach, so he deserves that shot.
Right, until proven otherwise. Absolutely, man.
How does it look after 2 or 3 years? Then I think we could start debating that. Man, maybe even 2 years, because this 1 year, I think we got to do a grace period. After 2, I think we could start talking about hot seat stuff like that. But I don't think it's going to get to that point. I really don't.
I don't either. I hope it doesn't personally for us because it's more fun when we're winning.
Yeah.
But I don't think it ever get to that point. Just because you think about the talent, you think about the leadership in place, we should be protected. That's all I'm saying. Like, I don't think it'd be a smooth and easy transition, but I do think it's not going to be as rocky as some of these other organizations that have to legit hit rock bottom. Like Cincinnati, they had to hit rock bottom before they could really balloon and get back to where they are right now. I don't feel like we're going to ever have to go completely to that extent to get to where we want to get back to. That's pretty much what I'm alluding to right there.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. You even look at some organizations like the Broncos. Now, after their Super Bowl, no more Peyton Manning. They haven't been as good, but they've been like in that 7-9, 8-8 range. Their problem's been they just don't have a quarterback.
You know, part of me wonders too, what happens if they would have kept Osweiler? Because you remember that whole... No, think about it, right? Osweiler, he looked good with them, and that was the reason why he got paid. The sample size was small, but remember, he led them those,
they went like with Simeon after him, right?
Yeah, because it was like the final 5 games. Then postseason, they went back to Peyton. Yeah. And then from there, he went and got paid to go, I think he went to Houston first to get paid, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
So I always wondered that, like, man, if he stays in that situation, is it different for Denver for him? Because he looked night and day in Denver in those 5 games, the reason why he got the check.
I think it was only a matter of time with him.
Yeah. Well, we'll never know now, but yeah, I thought about that.
I think we beat them for sure if he's the quarterback. Well, as much as he looked better than Peyton in the regular season, I think Peyton was a big part as to why they won the Super Bowl.
Well, yeah, decision-making. Peyton's decision-making was off the charts. And we talked about some of the prep going into that game, but yeah, Peyton definitely mentally gave him the best chance, but physically, Osweiler was the more gifted quarterback at that time. Yeah.
Yeah, they ended up going with Simeon over him. Now, I was reading an article. How do you feel about this? Is this maybe we won't know for another year? As I mentioned, this is just going to be more of an experiment. Do we do grace periods? But people are already calling for just let Teryl Austin call the plays. Like Tomlin should get rid of the play calling altogether on defense.
Okay. For me, I think he has to earn it. I would like him to a year under the way it's currently going. And then if it grows to the point where him and Coach T have a relationship and Coach T trusts him to that extent, sure. But to just throw it out there and just say, hey, man, first year as the coordinator, you get the spot, you get to make the calls when Keith Butler did it for how many years and he didn't get that luxury. And if the reports were true that, you know, even Dick LeBeau's last year, he didn't even get to call it. I'm just like, yeah, I ain't about to just throw them keys over to Teryl Austin like that. I'm sorry. Yeah. I mean, like I said, it could get to that, but if what Keith Butler said was actually true, yeah, I don't see how that works out like that. You know what I mean?
I'm with you on that. I think you just trust Tomlin up to this point.
Absolutely. I mean, if that's what it's been, we're not going to sit here and act like our defense, when healthy, isn't a top tier defense. When our defense has been healthy, we know what it looks like. They finish in the top 5. That's what it's been, even under Keith Butler. But we know that at the same time, some of the bullheadedness with some of these calls or sticking with it or not making necessarily adjustments, that is still a critique of Coach Tomlin. But to me, I'm not willing to just turn it over because of that element of it, because everybody's going to have something bad about their game. Everybody, whether you're your coach, GM, owner, like everybody has something they don't do well, that they struggle with. But to me, I do think as a whole, Coach Tomlin in the driver's seat still is going to have these defenses where they need to be, barring any health. And that's the big part. It's the health part of it.
I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
We got Vinny D'Amato just giving us some support in the super chat.
I was going to say, even before we hit all of the...
I think we only got 2. So I can read the second one off real quick too.
Yeah, because I wanted to go back into the regular chat to just get people's thoughts on the Teryl Austin promotion and things like that as well. So
Russell Schwartz says, Austin is from my area. He went.
Sharon, right?
Oh, Teryl Austin. Okay, I thought he was talking about Austin, Texas for a second.
No, because he's local. Yeah.
Went to Sharon High School, same as Marlon Jackson from the Colts Super Bowl team.
Yep, absolutely, man. So we get a little local connection as well, man.
There you go.
Yeah, and shout out to Vinny. I didn't know you had a unicorn on your thing, man. That's pretty dope.
Oh, is that what it is?
This is a unicorn, right?
Oh yeah. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, it's a unicorn.
Is that what he? Is that his own little profile thing, or is that the comment he made? He just said unicorn.
I don't know. I've never seen in the unicorn moves. Oh no, it doesn't move. I thought it was moving for a second. Yeah, so I don't know exactly what the unicorn, but either way, it's pretty cool. So shout out to the unicorn.
Okay, so some of the chats in terms of Teryl Austin, we got Dark Donnie just saying, "I'm fine with it. Leonard Gillum says, I wish we got someone with better credentials.
Minshew Mania says Austin has been the DC twice before, and he has great credentials. That's crazy in terms of just the back and forth right there, right? All right, let's see. What else do we have in it? Minshew Mania also said, I like it, but he says doubt Flores was really an option, though. That would have been sweet in terms of Brian Flores once he got fired from the Miami head coaching job.
Jar Devil, I'm cool with Austin hire. Our secondary was horrible before him.
This is true. I mean, that's another thing, right?
When did he come on?
He came in 18, right? The year we traded for Minka. So it's like
After Joe Hayden.
Yeah, so you see Minka, you see Cam Sutton, Mike Hilton. He's another name, all right? He's another guy that was under Teryl Austin. Even Terrell Edmonds. You look at how all of those guys have been playing under Teryl Austin and how they've improved. I mean, we've talked about it. Mike Hilton, when he got paid big time. Cam Sutton has developed into an outside corner in a sense, right? In a sense.
I thought he played solid this year.
Absolutely.
Nothing crazy, but
he showed that he could play on the outside, because prior to that he had never seen it. But
and from where we drafted him to, he's been a success for us.
Absolutely.
For sure.
So that's development, that's productivity. We talk about the safety play. Minka Fitzpatrick and Terrell Edmonds, both of those guys have been super productive. Obviously, Minka in the turnover vein. We know with Edmonds and his tackling. So you can see quality development. Even Trey Norwood, think about him, rookie coming in, playing significant early on, coming up with some timely turnovers as well. That's all under Teryl Austin. So I do like the continuity there as well, because they're not going to have to learn different techniques, different verbiage, or have to have a different just philosophy. Because sometimes, even though you can run the same scheme, coaches coach differently. Coaches look for things differently, and they want different things. So with you retaining Teryl Austin, you don't necessarily have to feel like they're going to be this mass overhaul where the players are going to have to be negatively affected by that as well.
We got Gong the Good. It says,
no. What's
this is the wrong comment, but he says, I was trying to read the one above him. He says, he wants Trevor Penning in the first and Zion Johnson in the second. Good idea. But the one I wanted to read was Brandon Griffin. He says, I just want the secondary to finally look great and stop the run again. I didn't think secondary was our biggest concern this year. It had its lapses for sure. Well, especially when we started playing Witherspoon. If anything, our secondary was halfway decent. Stopping the run's the biggest concern for defense.
Yeah. That's definitely a concern. It's definitely a concern.
Yeah, because I wouldn't put the performance of our defense really on the secondary or Teryl Austin this year.
But I would also say, just in response to stopping the run, remember, we did have injury concerns, right? In terms of Devin Bush never really getting back to form. We know, Tyson Alualu injured early in the season, right? I think it was the Raiders game where he went down. We talked about Stephon Tuitt, right? Supposed to be able to be here this year. Obviously, the situation didn't work out for him to be able to return. So I do think when you get players like those guys back, or if they don't return, but you go out and actually acquire talented guys to their level, or at least comparable to their level, I do think we will see an improvement in the run game. I don't think it fixes it all, but I do think that would improve it as well. So I said, with that, like I said, it's not the worst situation right now. We'll get better. We'll get better with it.
Caleb Cole says, honestly, didn't expect it to go any other way.
I can understand.
Nah, they were flashing a little bit like, hey, you know what? We're interviewing some other guys.
They were. That
surprised me.
Put it like this. I was definitely surprised at how many candidates that they interviewed.
4.
I don't think I was surprised, though, that they finished and it was Teryl Austin. Because I thought all of it, I know me. I just assumed that, hey, man, they're going to promote from within.
They were
because
dragging
that's what
their
they
feet,
do.
though, a little bit.
They were,
You're right about the timing with Patrick Graham.
Yeah.
OC with Raiders. All of a sudden, Teryl Austin set to interview with the Giants.
And that's what really makes me feel like
you're hired here.
It's like, man, I know you liked him enough that you pulled the trigger when you saw he was about to get another opportunity. So I get that part. But I do question, was Patrick Graham your first? Now, I'm never going to get that answer, because as soon as I go to ask Kevin Colbert, you think I'm going to tell you that, Arthur? You think I'm going to tell you that, this guy over that guy? No. So I'm not going to get that answer. Even Coach T's not going to get me. I don't think Mr. Rooney's going to tell me that answer, okay? I'm not getting that answer, no matter how much I ask. But, like I said, just the timing of it, it's like, man, he was one of the first outside candidates as well. Patrick Graham. He was one of the first. In fact, I think he was the first outside candidate. Then after that, it was Chris Richard and then Joe Witt.
Yep.
Yeah. So it was like you could obviously see the interest was there from the beginning of this thing. But man, it's still, like I said, that's still a good move. It's not, even if it was you were the number 2 guy. Still a good
I'm
move.
fine with it.
Still a
I'm
good
100%
move. Still a
fine
good
with
move.